And in the coming year, we're going to have both an open primary for governor in California and for the U.S. Senate as well. And that's why Melissa and I asked former San Francisco Mayor and State Assembly Speaker Willie Brown if we could wind up with a Democrat versus Democrat all the way through come November.
That'll be at least 6, minimum of 6, simply because it's the opportunity that everybody thought they would have in 2019, but suddenly it's this year or next year, as one would have it. And believe me, you can't pass up that opportunity.
And with a city full of consultants, everybody's happy to bring you a PowerPoint showing you the very complicated algorithm that will put you, no matter who you are, in the mayor's office in City Hall. So there's lots of self-interested folks around trying to get themselves hired by various people. And I think you're right. You get at least a half dozen who'll fall for it.
Okay, Angela Aliotto's entrance into the race was unexpected. Who are the others that we think we're going to be seeing? Jane Kim has already signed up as supervisor. We had Mark Farrell, a supervisor, say no. State Senator Mark Leno is in, and
London Breed has not yet in, and she is going to run. There's no question she will run. And then, of course, Dennis Herrera, who has a free ride.
City attorney.
That is right, city attorney.
David Chu, state assemblyman.
No, but he doesn't have a free ride. He's got to file in March for the seat he currently has. You can't file in January for one seat and then turn around in March before the election and file for another. That's a no-no. However, Carmen Chu occupies the same position as Dennis Herrera. And
the
believe
assessor.
The assessor. And there clearly is going to be a lot of pressure to get some person who is closer to Ed Lee. And clearly, Carmen Chu is the closest you'd have to Ed Lee.
Well, and when you have ranked choice voting, where you can rank your first 3, candidates, it does kind of lend itself to people running, to multiple people running as kind of a slate. Like we're the top 3, put us in your top 3. And so, if it's just a 1-to-1, that system isn't,
Now, let's get to the real heart of the matter. Mm-hmm. Who are you going to work behind the scenes and finagle in there?
It's obvious he's working for
Who
London
am I
Breed.
going to work behind the scenes and finagle in there?
Yeah.
Obviously, I told you once before, London Breed formerly worked for me, literally started her career in San Francisco in my office. I'm for London Breed.
He only works in front of the scenes.
And speaking of the scenes, it's Democrat, Democrat, Democrat in San Francisco. It's probably Democrat, Democrat until you get out to Danville.
That is true, and we're going to see that at the governor's race as well. We're seeing all the polls are reflecting a large number of undecided people, but the front runners clearly Antonio Villaraigosa and Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom.
And one of the reasons is that we have Republicans running in the primary, but in an open primary, it's the top 2, regardless of party. And if you had one Republican running either for the Senate or for governor, chances are they'd make the runoff because they have 25% of the vote.
But that never happens because so many Republicans run in these elections. And it's funny, the parties hate this top 2 primary.
Yes,
you talk
they
to
do.
party operatives, they hate it. But polls show that voters love it by upwards of 70%. So extremely popular system, one that's probably going to result in 2 Democrats in the runoff for governor.
Democratic Gavin Newsom is competing to take Governor Brown's spot. He and a host of other candidates are out there already running. Melissa and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown for his thoughts on the race.
It is Gavin's race to lose. He is clearly the most interesting, attractive candidate. He's been on the road longer than anybody else. He's got all the Hollywood good looks. He's got 4 kids, and I don't think either one of them is 8 years of age. He's got a glamorous wife with lots of resources on her own. He really is ahead of everybody. Can he stay ahead? I don't know.
But, how is he still polling so low if he's been in the public eye as lieutenant governor for as long as he has? It seems to indicate that there are people who are aware of him, who know who he is, who are still not convinced because the biggest winner at this point is we haven't made up our mind. And so it seems like there are a lot of people who know who he is but aren't convinced that he's the one.
And that's a real danger. That's why you don't want to be the front runner. You always want to be the person whom people are anticipating will make a move. It is hard. It is really difficult to run at the head of the line for 2.5 or 3 years, which is what he's been attempting to do.
Because if you're the front runner, the only news is if you stumble.
That's right. That's right. And I'll tell you, if you look at him at the debates and the forums, he doesn't look that fired up. And maybe it's because he's not, he's not David versus some Goliath somewhere. But the other candidates seem hungrier.
Melissa, he has to hold in place. He can't afford to lose any of what he already has. He wishes to add on, but in adding on, sometimes it's a misstep. And if you try to add on, that subtracts. His people have got to be managing him as a front runner.
Well, that could change. Mayor Willie Brown, in his column this morning in the Chronicle, said that Representative Jackie Spear from San Mateo is considering a run for governor.
Although Mayor Brown's columns often throw out
But if
names
he does,
like Ronald
if
McDonald's going to be the mayor, so we don't know.
If it is, and sometimes you'd be surprised, that would certainly shake up the race.
That would be amazing, because one thing about Jackie Spear, she's incredibly candid and passionate, and so when you look at these forums and
she's
everyone's
from
standing
Northern
there.
California, where the bulk of the Democratic vote is, and that's Gavin Newsom's base. So rather than being a north-south fight between him and possibly former mayor of Los Angeles, it could be right there in the breadbasket.